Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I want to talk about the main reason why men agree with women. But before I do it, before I reveal this, I want to say thank you to everybody who's been stopping by, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, even donating to the Howard Dare channel. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and click the subscribe button and click the bell symbol next to it and accept the email notifications. YouTube has been changing up the notification system, so unless you click the bell and accept the email notifications, you're not going to get the really great notifications from the Howard Dare channel, because they are amazing and special in and of themselves. So let's get into it, because this is an important topic. The main reasons why men agree with women. Because here's the thing. You really have to consider someone's qualifications and experience in anything that you're engaged in. And you really have to ask yourself, why would somebody with 10 times the amount of experience ask somebody with 10 times less experience what they think we should do? Why would somebody 10 times stronger than you ask somebody who's 10 times weaker what they think they should do? And I think that for the longest time that women, especially women within Western civilization, have gotten the wrong idea. I think that they've gotten it a little mixed up. Here's the thing. Unless you yourself can actually do something, it's really not okay to claim the credit for it. And I believe that women within Western civilization have been claiming credit for the achievements of their men for a long time now. Oh, I would say for about 150 years. It's hard to exactly pinpoint when it happened, when the achievements of men became the achievements of all people, right? And it's not even the achievement of all men. Oh no, not at all. It's actually the achievement of a very select group of men who came from essentially Western Europe. And it was born out of the Renaissance, okay, the coming out of the Dark Ages. A certain set of principles finally took hold. You could call them the seeds of Western civilization. And this was the combination of a very practical, harsh, master morality that had developed through experience and the teachings, of the harsh mistress of reality. I shouldn't even use that phrase because women will get the wrong idea. Experience is a very hard teacher, right? It doesn't really matter how much you cry or how pretty you are. So when those are your standards, life is hard. So what you need to do is you need to combine those standards with some respect for individual rights. Why do you need to do this? Right? This is what you're wondering. You're imagining yourself as a king or a knight, and you're thinking, why on earth would I do that? You're looking at somebody else's ice cream cone, and you're thinking, yeah, I would like that ice cream cone. Even though I've got one of my own, I would like to have theirs too. And you're thinking, why shouldn't I do that? Well, okay, it's a very difficult argument to make, isn't it? But the reason why you shouldn't do that, and I don't expect any one individual to really understand this until their life is almost over. The reason why you shouldn't do it is because of individual rights. Because if you violate individuals' rights, they will lose all motivation to cooperate and to build a decent world based on certain principles, okay? Like if you just lie about people and destroy their reputations and cheat them, like some people here like to engage in, and it works, you destroy the motivation of the people to do a good job, right? Again, I know some of you are thinking, well, why do I care? This brings us to the blossoming on this episode of Blossom. This brings us to the blossoming. This brings us to the flowering of Western civilization. These are the seeds and the principles which grow with enlightened self-interest, right? So if you take the principles of science and reality, the law of identity, A equals A, right? If you just accept your basic principles of reality and then you combine it with individual rights, respect for freedom, respect for the tyranny of government and of power, right? You break it up with separation of powers. You have the potential for this engine of humanity. And this works with the women too, largely, although their main occupation is not to be productive. You know what? It's just not. Their main biological function is not to be productive workers in the hive, but to be females, not workers. In the human, whatever you want to call it, human species, the role of the female is not that of a worker. She can work and she can do some work, but she can't work anywhere near as well as a male can. So what's the deal, ladies? What are you trying to do? And then trying to use laws and social customs to equalize. So that's the basis for your Western civilization, for the flowering of it, for the productivity of it, because men are not going to work hard and be productive unless it is to their advantage. This is why the arguments of some people here in MGTOW that are suggesting, a man shouldn't make money, they're just foolish arguments. These are men who have kind of accepted their enslavement. And this happens to everybody, and haven't realized there is a way out of it. And it is by protecting, your individual rights and others' individual rights. And, these concepts are just largely wasted on them. But someday, maybe. So why would the women get it in their head that all of the things that the men do, all of the things that the men build, all of the institutions, what the bitter, angry feminists would call the patriarchy. Why would they think that, that's their accomplishment? They didn't design any of these things. They're not inventors. They're not builders. They're not creators. They can do these things, but not the way men have done these things. Not within Western civilization. And the men have done these things so well and built these systems up. And you know why, right? Most of the men know why. Most of the women are still scratching their head, but that's okay because there's not very many women listening to this particular video. Why would the men build a cathedral, generations, designing the finest details, and then say, oh yes, this is an accomplishment of all mankind? At best, the women brought the sandwiches and helped out on the construction site here and there. But for the most part, no. You must know that the majority of men were not really fit either except to do manual labor and to be directed. So the men tell the women that it's their accomplishment also because the men want to please the women. It's very interesting. You can't raise a super intelligent male unless you please the women and you get her to, raise the child. Otherwise, he's just very violent, very dangerous. Needs a happy family to create this kind of productive that can do these things that I'm talking about, the men of Western civilization. And the reason why the women think that it's their accomplishment is because the men want to sleep with them. That's why. The men want, not just sleep with them, they want to see them happy. They really do. You know what I mean? It's like this trait has been bred in to them. And it makes sense, right? Because they love their mothers, right? And if they don't have the love of the mother, it's going to be really hard to survive and to develop. So the big brain, highly intelligent child needs a loving mother. And the men of Western civilization provide that, or have provided that, by creating safety and security with the institutions, with the policies, with the government, all keeping in line with these principles of reality, objective reality, and individual rights. But it's really only a smaller group of people that are producing all of, this innovation. And now we've come to a stage where the people who have been told, oh yeah, you're doing this too, right? It's all of humanity. They resent it. They don't understand it, and they want to tear it down. And because the men of Western civilization are bred to please and to go along and to make sure that the women within their civilization are happy, they're going along with it. So MGTOW becomes your only answer for male sovereignty. How do men claim back the right to control their civilization? Well, they certainly can't do it with women, can they? And they certainly can't do it with people who don't even understand the basic principles of science and fairness and equity and why it's important, right? Like the little kid is just sitting there looking at that other ice cream cone and thinking, I want it, why can't I take it? Because it wouldn't be fair. But he's not going to understand that for many, many years. Maybe never. And maybe he'll understand it pretty quickly, when someone takes his ice cream. So how does this apply to the individual man's life, right? Because I believe that the individual man has to be able to say no to women. I mean, without that ability, I don't think, the man is respectable, even to himself. A man ruled by a woman is a pathetic kind of creature. So I think that men need to recognize what's happened. They need to be able to say no to women. And our civilization, our culture, our society needs to be able to say no to women. It really is like the emperor's new clothes. The women are walking around and this is unrestrained female sexuality. And it's very, very destructive to building families and men maintaining and advancing a society, a civilization. In other words, when the women become too empowered and when the people who are not productive become too entitled, the men who have built the civilization and who have maintained the civilization, they lose all interest in doing so. There's no incentive for them to do so. They cannot build the families that they want. So this idea of empowering your less productive people in society, you're destroying the productive people in society. And, the solution is that you let people be free. It's equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. And then the best rise to the top. And then they build the systems that can maintain the majority of people who are essentially workers and manual labor. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's like if you're 5.5 feet tall, you're probably not going to be a professional basketball player. As in many of my videos, I think that if a man can recognize the situation that he's dealing with, that he can avoid many of the traps of the situation. So recognize the tendency to want to please the women, recognize the society and the civilization's desire to please the women, recognize that the men really are your strong workers and innovators and explorers. The women can do these things, absolutely, individually, yes. Yes, you can do anything you want in life. But on the whole, there's no point in training women to be great soldiers because not very many of them are going to be great soldiers. Can some of them train to be soldiers? Sure, go ahead. But these are the variables at play. These are the dynamics at play. The man has an instinct to want to protect and to provide for the women. It's being exploited by Western civilization, by the governments, by the educational institutions, by the media. Okay, they all mirror this destructive cultural Marxist message of equality of outcome, and it needs to demonize and punish the individual freedoms. So understand, this dynamic is moving forward from the Renaissance through the Industrial Revolution, through capitalism, through a technological age. Now you've empowered a victim class, a welfare class, a dependent class, and they're using the institutions and the policies and the habits and group dynamics to enact their will, which is, human weakness, essentially. So if you can recognize these dynamics in your individual life, I think you can use it to guide you in your behavior and then not be suckered in to throwing your life away for a cause that's useless, that doesn't build your future. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. But if you like the video, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you have something to share, please do so in the comments section. If you haven't already subscribed to the Howard Dare channel. Share the video if you think it might be useful with someone, and donate, support the Howard Dare channel through PayPal, and visit me over on Patreon because there's some things that I release over there. And join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, everyone.